Hello, I'm Gordon Buchanan and welcome to Beneath the Baobab, the Communities and Conservation podcast from JAMA International. In this second series, we're exploring the real-life costs for communities living with wildlife and the innovative solutions that are being put in place to mitigate these costs. In the first episode, we spoke to local people living alongside Kruger National Park. This time we move to Namibia and explore conflict in the Gaingu Conservancy. And whilst compensation is available in the country, we discuss how that compensation actually works and how it could be more effective in the future. We hear from the Conservancy Manager and local farmers alike and investigate the balance between agriculture and wildlife. Join me alongside the people at the very heart of the matter, beneath the baobab. So we've got this little goat paddock here. I'm just going to pace it out. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 metres, 7 metres, 8 metres, 9 metres. Sorry, dog. We've got a guard dog in with the goats. I didn't realise you were there. So yeah, it's like a 10 by 10 metre fenced area where we have 30 or so of these actually very healthy and actually very attractive looking goats. Within this enclosure, these goats are safe enough, but there's nothing for them to eat, and that's the real that's where the danger is, and that's where the conflict is when you actually have to take these goats out into the kind of wilder parts of this environment. If you've got all of these animals walking through an area of bush where you have leopards, any predator in fact, leopards, hyena, jackals, they're going to think, okay, there's a good source of food. Riaan, thank you for having me here. Can you just walk me around your place and just tell me about your life here?
Farmer, my name is Riaan. I live in the area. I'm a local farmer, and with this livestock that I have is what I'm living with.
So this area, immediately I can tell it must be an incredibly tough place to live, but I'm looking at your goats and they are perfect specimens. They look very healthy. How do you manage to rear such a healthy looking goat herd?
As you can see that this area is actually really dry. So that actually means that I must take my livestock towards the mountain area. And that is where I have encountered some conflict within those mountain areas, because that is where the good vegetation is, where the good food is, and to keep your goats in a condition as good as this.
Can you take me over? I'd quite like to have a look at your animals. So other than issues with wild animals, what's the biggest challenge living here as you do?
So the biggest problems that I have here is I cannot leave the area because of the theft that is prevalent in the area. And once I leave the goats, also the other problem with the wildlife also starts with the predators. And also the other biggest problem that is prevalent in this area is the water scarcity. There is not a lot of water for each and every person and each and every goat as well.
Where does your water come from? Obviously you need water, your livestock needs water. Where do you get it from?
The main source of water in this area is a community borehole, which is approximately 5 kilometers from here.
Okay.
So the water is pumped, but then it's a diesel powered engine. So if you have the money, then you can source a 5-liter diesel for one time of pumping. And then also another problem is because it's 5 kilometers, if there is a water leakage, you will not necessarily find it out, and then water will be wasted as well.
And obviously you've got your goats in this enclosure at the moment, but there's no food in here. So you have to take them far from your house, sort of towards the mountains for them to find food.
Every day the goats must walk a few kilometers in order to get to good vegetation, which is normally around the mountainside, which is not inhabited by people. But it is a far distance that the goats need to walk every day in order to get good food.
Yeah. So what's your typical day look like? What's the routine when you wake up in the morning?
First things first, you need a cup of coffee, you need a cup of tea. So first thing that Mr. Riaan does, he wakes up and then makes himself a cup of coffee, makes himself something to eat. Then there are 3 chickens that he still has that he needs to feed every morning. After he feeds the chickens, he rests a little bit, and around 10 o'clock is the time that he takes out the goats to the veld. And then by 4 o'clock, Mr. Riaan will be back with all of the goats, give them some water, and then he can rest for a little bit after or before he starts making dinner for himself again.
Okay. And when it comes to your coffee or sugar or anything other than the food that you eat at home, where do you get that from? Does it come from Windhoek?
It is tough when it comes to food because food security is but a problem. But what happens is that one goat is sold in order to buy some foodstuffs and also some medicine for the goats as well. Whenever Mr. Riaan sells a goat, he walks to Tubuses, walks to Usakos, sorry, which is about 7 kilometers. It is also just a thing about family helping each other out, because sometimes goats cannot be sold because there might not be customers or someone that is in need of meat. So there might be 3 months, 4 months that go by without one goat being sold. So there's no source of income there. So what happens is that Mr. Riaan survives from his neighbors. He gets some things, some foodstuffs sometimes for general work as well. And then also the drought relief program, which was introduced by the Republic of Namibia from the Prime Minister's office, where there are certain foodstuffs dropped off.
You know, where I come from, people are used to, they have some money in their bank account and you can pay for things, pay for food using your credit card, using cash, using your phone, using your watch. But I suppose effectively this is your bank account. But sometimes you can't convert these goats into cash to buy other items to live. Yeah, how long have you been living here? And is this a stable number of goats, or in the past did you have more, or are the numbers coming up?
Okay, Mr. Riaan has been farming in the area for 25 to 28 years, and his, as he has noticed, is the number of livestock are ever decreasing.
Oh, yeah.
Like he used an example, last year he had more, but due to the fact that many of his goats were bitten by the leopards and the jackals or by the wildlife, his number has drastically decreased.
Okay.
So his bank account is becoming less and less. The biggest problem is the human-wildlife conflict because of the leopard and the jackal. Those two are the biggest culprits. The other animals might be biting less, but the leopard and the jackal, in the year, they must bite from Mr. Riaan. And then Mr. Riaan also noted that theft has gone down a lot since he is looking after his own goats now. Since he is the herder himself. So theft has gone down. Maybe after 4 years, if he goes to town, then one might be taken. But the biggest problem right now that is decreasing the wildlife is the leopard and the jackal.
And there was a jackal attacked one of your goats just recently.
Okay. On Wednesday and Thursday, it was raining. It was raining a little bit. So Mr. Riaan was out with the goats at that side of the mountain. As he was coming back, there was a strong wind that came and the rain was a lot. So Mr. Riaan was rushing to get the goats back into the kraal. So there was a division between the goats as he was bringing them back due to the strong winds and due to the rain. So there was a division. So when Mr. Riaan brought the first crowd back, he put them in the kraal, and then he noticed that, but there is one goat that is still missing after he found a few. So then Mr. Riaan left it at that because it was becoming a little bit dark. The next morning, he and one of the other goat herders went out to look for the animal, and then they found a half-eaten carcass in the field, but then they could not see the jackal, or there was no sign of the jackal at that point in time. So then they brought the carcass back.
So for that goat, for example, and you managed to sell it successfully, so you've got to walk for, 7 kilometers, hope that you can sell it. what would you hope that you'd be coming back to your home with? What would you hope to exchange that goat for as far as foodstuffs or other types of foodstuffs?
Okay. What Mr. Riaan does is with that 1,500, he splits them in three. So it's 500 Namibian dollars for every month, and then with from that 500 Namibian dollars, it's going to be his toiletries, it's going to be food like maybe maize meal. Sometimes, if he is lucky, he might be able to buy some macaroni and some other foodstuffs like sugar and tea, with only that 500 Namibian dollars.
Okay.
So we could say that it is his income for the month.
You know, for imagine anyone that they wake up, you know, to start their day's work, they have their coffee, they feed their chickens, they take their herd out, and just in the course of one day, an event happens. They say, okay, you're going to lose 3 months of your income. The only source of income you have is gone because of this occurrence. So what is there any compensation that you can get in this situation?
There is actually no compensation that you would receive for a goat that is for a goat that has been bitten. Mr. Riaan does not know of any scheme or has not received something yet. Which he noted is that except the Conservancy program which he introduced, which he says that quite recently he heard that there's an application process from the Conservancy in order to get an offset, not really a compensation, but it's just a certain amount to assist you. But something very important that Mr. Riaan noted is that since there's no other help, he will have to walk with the animals. He will have to make sure that he's here 24/7. He will have to make sure if it rains that he walks in the rain. If it's hot, he's going to walk in the heat. If it's windy, he's going to walk in the wind. Just in order for him to make sure that nothing bites his animals and that he keeps his bank account intact.
Yeah. So I actually can't imagine what it must feel that in just the course of one day that you lose something like this. It is so valuable to your livelihood.
Okay, so there's surely a feeling of helplessness. Whenever an animal from Mr. Riaan's kraal is bitten, he actually feels as if he has lost a family member, or or a person that is very close to him. So what transpires is that feeling actually stays there for a few days. But what Mr. Riaan consoles himself with is the fact that at least he can get a little bit of protein from if the jackals or the leopards leave him a little bit of meat, because the thing is, after a few days, the feeling dissipates, or it goes back a little, because you also have to remind yourself that you are sharing this environment with these leopards, with these jackals. You have to find a way to coexist. So it's type of like sharing, and this also makes it difficult because the source of income has been cut off. So it makes it difficult for Mr. Riaan to support his external family members as well, and the livelihood becomes bad, or the living conditions become bad. Living conditions become worse.
And is there anything that would help that coexistence become more harmonious? What would make a difference if you have to accept that the leopards are here and the jackals are here and you have to live with that, but you are also here with your herd? Is there anything that could help that relationship?
Okay, we must understand that these leopards and these jackals are also hungry. That is why they are coming in order to bite our livestock. But due to the drought and the poaching in the area, the numbers of the antelope have gone down. They don't have anything to eat. So that means that they are coming towards the livestock in order to get something to eat. So Mr. Riaan suggested if the government can maybe do some wildlife restocking or reintroduction into the areas again, then these leopards will have food to eat in the veld, and then they won't be fighting over his source of income with the leopards.
Yeah. Now that's an amazing attitude. We've taken refuge from the heat inside Mr. Riaan's little kitchen here. So it's mostly corrugated sheets, tins. There's some recycled netting that lets a nice breeze through. There's some lovely wood smoke wafting up from some sticks that are burning on the hearth. So I'm just imagining that the first thing this morning, Mr. Riaan came in and made his morning coffee in here, but we've taken it over to chat conservation.
My name is Uiras. You guys probably wondering what. It's a native name. It means, is it true?
My name is Johanna Hansen, and I live at Post 2, Joabe. My name is Daniel. Surname is Geiseb. I'm an elder from Lutheran Church.
Most people are used to living with neighbours, and most people maybe get on with their neighbours, and sometimes there's conflict with neighbours, but I suppose the issue that you have with this leopard is very different. What's it like to share your community with an animal like a leopard?
Firstly, it's very scary because most of us, we don't really have, as you have seen, some of us came by foot. Sometimes we use the donkey cart, but then it's like we're very scared. You can't, so to say, like roam around freely. Some people, like elders, sometimes they live with their grandchildren. So the grandchildren can't also, maybe if she asks, quickly collect firewood for me, it's like we're scared. They can't just go around freely because what if
Yeah.
the leopard comes and attacks it? So it's like you are at your home, but you can't not explore, but just live freely.
Yeah. You didn't spend your childhood here. This is an area that you've moved into.
Yeah, she came here as an elder.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not grown up here.
I get a sense that although you might live a few kilometres apart from one another, this is a very close community. Everybody helps each other. Everyone looks out for each other. It's like a big family, like one big family. And I suppose if you hear about one of your neighbours, so okay, Mr. Riaan, he loses some of his goats to this leopard. So as a community, you think, okay, he may need more of our help. So I suppose if one household loses some of their livestock, there's that ripple effect through the community. Everybody feels that lost, and is everyone affected by that loss? Is that true?
The whole area here has been impacted by the leopard because it's the donkeys, it's the horses, cows, every livestock that is roaming around here for grazing. It's at stake to be beaten by the leopard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you use the word bitten, you mean bitten, killed,
Yes,
and eaten.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact also, this is communal land, and everyone, basically, the livestock, whatever they have, it's not just for grazing or just for show. It's what mainly, the main purpose is for subsistence, like people live from it. So, I mean, some people have livestock to put their kids through school, pay for varsity education, to sustain yourself as well on a daily basis, because what the government grant is also not really enough. It is of help, but it's not really enough, because you need to have pump water, you need to buy diesel, most people don't have cars, transport, you need to pay for transportation. And I mean, if you could take one or two from your livestock and you could sell it, it's a means of living. It can help to your living standard, to your daily life.
Yeah.
So leopards roaming around killing livestock, it has really detrimental effects, like psychologically. It affects people socially as well.
And the other part also is when the leopard is around the homesteads, the movement of people are so inhabited by it, because you cannot go and harvest food for making fire.
Yeah.
You cannot go around for visiting others during the night, because that scareness of going to visit other one during the night, that thought I could be bitten by it.
Yeah.
It's also affecting the community around.
If there was one thing that you could change, even if it didn't have an effect immediately, but long term for the future of people living here, what is there not simple thing, but one thing that you would like to see done?
Like we've spoken, was it a day or 2 days ago? We have spoken. We to see this in a positive light. We thought, but obviously we need to first engage with the Conservancy. It will be, like you said, not something immediately, but in the future may be beneficial. Like for instance, you came all the way from
Scotland.
Yes, just to come see this leopard, just to come filming this. So we would like this, we see this in a positive light, having that as like a campsite or like a rest camp where just tourists can come over, not the leopard to have it caged really, but somehow to have it tamed. Like you maybe have met Marcus.
Yeah.
He's one of the game guards where he can say, no, he's a bit tame, or he's used to seeing people just like you have showed me now, the lions, where you just keep still, and to just have something like a setup where tourists can come, where people like myself, young people, sometimes we don't have jobs, like we're back home. Also, we don't really know what the characteristics of a leopard is. We don't know if we have to encounter with him. It's like we just fight for our lives like the guys did and they were attacked. I mean, if we were more knowledgeable, we wouldn't have fought back and incidents like that couldn't have occurred.
Yeah.
But just to know, no, he's eating, I need to move away, I need to. But then it's human instinct also scared. But yeah, that's what we thought of, what I think of, and that's what I also shared with him. And it was like, no, maybe it could be something like a tourist attraction. I mean, we have like a leopard valley.
And that's a really positive suggestion and really positive ideas, and it's about you're thinking, okay, let's turn a negative into a positive. But the one question I have is that why as a community do you not just say, okay, let's get the government to remove this leopard?
What 70% of the community members, just like you said, is like, why doesn't the government remove it? But then with our arm, like the government arm, I mean, it's process. You need to go this and that and that. And like I've said before, people don't always have the means, even just to draft a simple letter. To get this letter to that specific office, it requires a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like people rather know it's gonna be a dragging process, just rather leave it. Maybe if someone is killed again, they'll shout again, and then it's quiet again. So all those are like obstacles. I think personally, any one of us, the locals, if we have to encounter, if we are weaponed, or even if we see it, obviously people will think, no, this leopard always attacks and always does this, so rather let's get rid of it. Yeah, without even informing authorities as well, or government. I mean, the leopard can be killed there, but we as a community, we might just keep quiet, because we will just say government does nothing, or whichever office we might contact, we won't get help. So better just to kill it, leave it there, and then he's gone.
I love environment. I love to live outside in the field, and I am a small miner digging semi-precious stones. One point that we missed is where the carnivores are. They need also the meat to eat. Unfortunately, with the drought, with the prevailing circumstances, every animal that can be killed by the leopard and the lions and whatever, it's extinct. And only place to hunt is the houses.
Yeah.
So if the authorities could replenish again the fields with the other wild animal, antelopes, kudus, what have you, then that will somehow solve this kind of problem. But the question is when the leopard get old and the other animals are running fast, the only slowest animal will be the goat, the sheep, and the donkey to kill.
Yeah.
To solve that, it's an thorny thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe is it possible? It's my thoughts. Is it possible you get in someone with a license? Then this person can take out that problem animal. They are younger ones
Yeah.
that has been bred. That this problem can be solved.
Yeah.
That's on my mind.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Because if the government authorities hear about that there is a leopard killed, then the authorities come in. They inquire. They do thorough investigations about it, and when they found that person or persons, that one must go to
Yeah.
jail. But how long can this leopard live until it can die natural death?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is where the trophy hunters can come in. That's my thought.
No, that is a good solution, and that's what happens in other parts of the world. If in North America, if you have wolves living in a protected national park, once they leave and they cause problem with cattle, okay,
Take it out.
take it out. In India and Nepal, if man-eating is a problem with lions and leopards, that animal is not necessarily killed, but it's caught and captured and taken out. So yeah, I think in some cases, yeah, there's no silver bullet. There's no one thing that can solve every situation, and it comes from, yeah, dealing with everything case by case, but also trying to, I suppose, solve those problems. And as you said, with an absence of natural prey, predation on domestic livestock is going to go up. What is the absence of natural prey linked to poaching or overhunting? Drought caused by climate change. So these things go from a big issue in a small community that really the whole world is connected to in some way or another.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's very important for people to hear your voices and hear from your community, because it is really a global concern. And if people in different parts of the world, if we want in our minds, whether we come here or not, that leopards and lions and wild animals that exist, we have to realize that in today's world, that wild world is also a world where people and communities live.
And don't forget about the hyena.
Yeah.
Hyenas are also here. It's running after the leopard, and when the spoils are there, it's the first one to take out the spoils.
No, I think it's the only way forward is for these things to become an asset, an asset for the community, and an asset for the world and for nature.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But that's, yeah, I think that's maybe the frustrating thing is that there is sort of solutions there, and these solutions, the best solutions, are going to come from the people that are most affected, because that's the way that conservation has worked forever. It's, oh no, it's, oh come on, I know how it's going to work. We create a national park, problem solved. We move the people out. No, that doesn't work. But I think it comes down to just you need support as communities, and you need that investment in your ideas. So that's sort of, yeah. I think there's lots of great. I think Namibia, there's schemes that do support people that other countries in Southern Africa, other countries around the world, they don't have that level of support. But it's clearly not enough support to give the people what they need.
The ground.
Yeah.
I may also add to it. The conservancy is created to the communal farmers are a great idea from our government. We salute that idea because the life of the field are our own in our hands.
Yeah.
We have to protect it, to make living out of it. Like the elephants, like the rhinos, like the lions, and so on. Even this problem leopard, it's our source of income.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of work to do. We must pull up our shorts and set up something to attract the investment first, and then from there we can run.
Well, no, I mean, it's amazing because I don't know what I was expecting. You know, I on one hand, I thought maybe they'll just, well, we don't know what we can do. Someone can solve our problem. You know, you know how to solve your problems, or sort of make nature an asset for the communities. And yeah, I just hope that in time, that support that sort of is there, so you can implement these ideas. But it comes back down to the best people to find that way to coexist.
It's true.
As you guys.
It's true.
In 2020, Mr. Riaan and 2 fellow herders were attacked by a female leopard after attempting to protect one of his goats. All 3 men were injured, with wounds ranging from minor to serious. I spoke to them alongside Neville Hendricks, who is the Conservancy Manager for Gaingu Conservancy. I suppose when people think of dangerous, potentially life-threatening jobs, goat herding maybe doesn't sort of feature large in everyone's mind, but 3 of you gentlemen had a very close encounter while herding your goats. Can you tell me a bit about this event that you were all involved in and witnessed?
Mr. Riaan was herding his goats in the direction of the mountain. So when he was herding his goats, he noticed that the goats got a little bit far from him. It was about 50 to 100 meters that the goats got far from him, where he heard a goat that was crying. Then he thought that, no, this is a jackal. But then he imagined, what type of jackal can this be that is attacking during the day? Because jackals are very scared animals. They don't necessarily come into the flock when they are herders or when they are dogs. They don't have that courage. So when he heard these cries, he actually went closer because he actually thought that this was a jackal. So as he got closer, he noticed that the goat was head first into a hole where Mr. Riaan thinks that the leopard was trying to pull it into a hole so that he can eat it. But Mr. Riaan got there and interrupted the situation. So when Mr. Riaan, he did not see at first that it was a leopard. So at first the leopard came to his left shoulder and jumped on him, where he got scratches, and then he managed to fight off this leopard at the first instance. So then Mr. Riaan screamed because the other goat herders were not necessarily far. One was on his left and one was on his right as they were going into the field. And then he called for these goat herders to tell them, I've been bitten. And then these 2 gentlemen came hurriedly to his rescue. But then once they came there, then this leopard saw that there's a different person. That would be Mr. Enrico. So Mr. Enrico was also attacked in that fashion. So then they were standing at the top of a small cliff or a big stone, and then they saw all the things were going on beneath them. Mr. Riaan was still underneath, and then these 2 gentlemen were above. They tried to distract the leopard, and then the leopard came towards Mr. Enrico. Once the leopard came towards Mr. Riaan tried to escape. Yet again, this leopard saw that Mr. Riaan was trying to escape. Then he went to Mr. Riaan and sat on him with his 2 paws to his shoulders, and it was on top of him. He saw that the leopards, Mr. Riaan just showed us his hat. That was the hat that he was wearing on that fateful day, where there are bite marks. There are 4 bite marks, as he indicated, and those are the leopard bite marks. So This leopard was literally on top of him and was about to start eating. But then the interference from these two gentlemen distracted the leopard a little bit so that he could fight off this leopard. So then he threw the leopard down and then he started running towards his friends.
Yeah, I hit my head real hard. And I went back already. If it wasn't for these two gentlemen, I wouldn't have known it.
Yeah.
So then they carried me from there to the car, then to the hospital. I think I was like 3 months in the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah. I was standing there in front of the window and I was looking out and I was wondering where the hell am I? Yeah. That thing, it damaged me. My memory got scratched, loss of memory. My mom and my family would come and I would look at them like, who are you? Yeah.
I think just listening to the story is enough to give me nightmares, but I think to have lived through that, it's terrifying, really terrifying. And I suppose you were lucky because if there was one person, you weren't going to walk away from that. Maybe if there was two people, you wouldn't walk away. So you're just so lucky you're three friends together at a time when you needed each other. Yeah.
Like this forehead of mine, this skin, you can see how it's been.
Yeah, of course. I see the
This one
scars.
was like standing like this. And even if I take out this jacket, you will see those claws of the leopard. They had to put in wires here in order for them to hold these joints together because they shifted apart.
And in a situation like that in Namibia, for healthcare, who paid? You're in hospital for 3 months. So who does the government cover that? Those
Municipal
costs?
tourism did.
Okay.
They even informed my mother she can take me to the best hospital, but it will be the same. They will bring the best guys possible to take care of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Mr. Riaan is emphasizing is there's no other choice. You have to go there, even if you do not want to, even if you are afraid. You
Yeah.
have to go there because that is the only place where the condition of his livestock can be better. Because in the other areas, as we've also noted, it's drier and not a lot of vegetation cover as well. Whenever there's any incident, even if it's a human-wildlife conflict or when someone is bitten, the Conservancy office needs to be notified, the game guards need to come and do the investigation, and then we can also notify the relevant authorities. But in this case, it was first and foremost hospital or call the ambulance because it's an emergency right then and there. So it needed to be sorted out, but then we were informed by the ministry themselves once the hospital contacted me.
Yeah.
So it's a wild animal, they need to be informed, Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism.
So is there anything that sort of, as a community, as a group of friends, that you think of, what can help stop this from happening again?
In this instance, this leopard has been causing more and more problems. So it has become a problem animal. Normally, this does not really happen because I can note that we're just speaking about one leopard. So it is becoming a problem. So if this leopard can maybe be relocated to a place like Etosha so that it can roam more freely. And then there are also other opportunities that the community members in there or where the attack took place, they have mentioned that there might be rock paintings in the area that can be used as a tourist attraction for income to come towards the community members. So if it can be relocated, because right now everyone is afraid to go there. Everyone is petrified to go there. They just go because they have to. The ones that go because they have to.
Yeah.
But not everyone is freely willing to walk into that zone because of that one troubled animal. Okay. And the fear that Mr. Riaan had is if he becomes old now, to the point that he cannot even hunt small game or like rabbits and stuff, then he will come directly to the house and come and take what is his, what he feels is his.
Sadly, that's what happens around the world when you have these large carnivores and they become old or injured, and it can become impossible for them to catch natural prey, and that's when they do cause problems. And I know in other parts of the world those animals are sort of removed either captured and killed, or captured and kept in captivity. But yeah, I think it must be, yeah, you're kind of living in a constant state of, not a constant state of fear, but you know, when you take your herd out every single day, it's not even going to be at the back of your mind. It's going to be probably at the forefront of your mind. Is this the day that sort of this leopard shows up again? You know, you walk in one direction, but are you going to be able to walk back and come home safely?
On this event, with regards to the leopard being a problem animal, is that I think it's imminent that there will be another attack that will be coming from this leopard. So from the Conservancy's point of view, what we normally do with problem animals is that we declare them at the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism as a problem animal. And that animal is actually declared by the Minister himself, or signed off that it is a problem animal. And then we have got a hunting contract with one of our local hunters here in Namibia, where he can actually come out and then come and shoot this animal. Because what I feel is that at least there needs to be a little bit of benefit that is coming back towards the community that has lost out. Now with the conservation model, there is trophy hunting, and trophy hunting brings in income for the community, or for the Conservancy, ultimately for all of the registered community members. So I think that this leopard needs to be hunted by a trophy hunter so that these benefits can come. Relocating this animal will be costly towards the government, and also it will not really solve the problem, because these animals can walk for hundreds of kilometers coming back to that habitat where they feel safe. But there are also other factors that also come into play when it comes to this. It's looking at the area, looking at the vegetation. If we could introduce other forms of food that the goats can eat, then Mr. Riaan does not necessarily have to go to Gwabe, to the mountain at Gwabe. Does not necessarily have to go there if lucerne can be planted here. But then we also have got water issues. So it actually builds up to a lot of things. But what I would say about this specific incident is that something needs to be done right away, because another attack is imminent. And it is, unfortunately.
We are walking through the most stunning landscape in Namibia. This is Spitzkoppe, the world famous Spitzkoppe. I'm with Neville Hendricks, who is the Conservancy Manager for Gaingu Conservancy. And he's the mover and the shaker, the implementer, the man that sort of, is working throughout this community. And in the time that he's been here, has done a huge amount of great work. And will continue to do so, I'm sure.
Thanks, Gordon, and welcome to the mighty Gaingu Conservancy in Namibia.
So Neville, tell me about the role of a Conservancy Manager and all that it entails.
Okay, the role of a Conservancy Manager is actually to be the coordinator, the facilitator, the liaison, the community go-to person when it comes to the office, to the admin work. So I am the go-to in-between guy between our operators and then the proponents that might come, and then also between the Conservancy Management Committee as well as the community members, like a type of middleman that brings everyone together and that can also try and make things happen.
You seem like an incredibly can-do kind of person. You must be dealing with all sorts of issues every day of your working life. You know, in your role as Conservancy Manager, what's your kind of most ambitious plan for the future that's going to benefit wildlife, that's going to benefit communities?
Okay, so the big plan that I actually have for this conservancy, for Gaingu Conservancy, and I feel that most conservancies in Namibia should actually also form part or try out this new model, is to get other sources of income. I mean, there are certain land uses which are very important to us. Historically speaking, we were hunters and gatherers, and then we became communal farmers, or let me say farmers in general. And now we have to look for the best type of land use. We can't farm for profit anymore due to the water issues, due to the vegetation. So what we try to do is, our area has been, or I've been informed that our area's wind is very strong.
Yeah,
And our area's sun is very strong along this belt.
I can
So
confirm that.
if we can bring in more solar power plants to get that extra income. Now this income can be used to pay game guards, so that we look after our livestock, so that we can just try and replenish these numbers to bring them back to what our grannies and our forefathers were actually having at that point in time. Because I can remember when I was still a toddler, there used to be a lot of wildlife around. Now at night when you drive, you don't even see one antelope crossing the road. It's sad.
Yeah. And I mean, there are examples across southern Africa where places that are devoid of the original wildlife that were there because of change in policies and practices and better management, that these animals have returned. So it's achievable, but I suppose it always comes down to the same thing. It's like, where does the money come for that?
Yeah, so like using that money in order to replenish the wildlife, because I think the wildlife will be able to sustain us in the future if we try and replenish these numbers back again. Tourism will increase. We can get more quotas from trophy hunting. And then this money we can use in order to benefit the community as a whole. With us, we have a policy where we believe in equitable distribution within the Conservancy. So what happens with that is that we make sure that we at least 50% of all the income that we receive from tourism and hunting goes towards the community members for capital projects, anything that they suggest at the annual general meeting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting for you who works in conservation, is to mention trophy hunting as just in your conservation toolbox, that trophy hunting can be a positive thing.
because we have seen that income coming in from trophy hunting has actually benefited the community members over the years since we have adopted the NRM program. So what happens with trophy hunting is that when there is conflict between a farmer and, let's say for example, a jackal or leopard, or let me say a predator, then instead of the farmer killing off this animal, knows he can conserve the animal, then there's at least a benefit that he can get from for the community as a whole actually. And what I do understand is how let's say international governments can make decisions based on trophy hunting, where we are the community members that will be living and then suffering with these animals. We have to coexist with these animals. So if there is a chance that a leopard does not bring in anything for this conservancy or for this community member, then this community member will feel that he needs to put this animal down because it's taking out the source of his livelihood. It's like a chunk of your salary being taken out before you have even reached the ATM after payday. And it's disheartening actually.
Yeah.
So it feels to me as if it's a type of, it reminds me of the olden days, the colonialism and the apartheid, where we did not really have control over our animals, where there was a top-down approach towards wildlife and the conservation thereof. Yeah. So that is actually what I did not understand, because the people making the decisions are the ones that are not really living with the wildlife. Can I not be a part of that decision-making process? I was even thinking conservation, when it's even defined in any dictionary, is conserving the fauna and flora for the future. I mean, that is now just basic. But what I would like to bring across from that is, what is important is the future generations. We
Yeah.
want our kids and my kids, so my grandchildren and great grandchildren and all of them. We want them to be able to see what a springbok
Yeah.
looks like a springbok looks like. Right? They should be able to proudly say that they're from Namibia and they have springbok within their area. In 2011, there was a game count where there were thousands of animals counted, and we recently did 2 game counts in 2022 and 2023, where the numbers of our springbok were 147, 152. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
that's-
the numbers have decreased so drastically.
No, that's shocking. That really is shocking in such a short space of time. I was thinking, just speaking to Riaan, Enrico, and Dion today, that they have all these guys men that were attacked by a leopard. You'd think that they would think, okay, get rid of these creatures. We don't want to share this sort of landscape with them. But there just seems to be this sort of tolerance and understanding of those wild animals. And I was thinking, maybe it's because the lives of those men and those communities is so tough that they empathize with the life of a leopard, because life is tough for wildlife. So it's, I mean, it was uplifting and inspiring to hear that we understand that life is tough. It's tough for us, it's tough for wildlife, but is there a way that we can prosper and go into the future together?
So it's mostly actually, like you said, about coexisting with these animals. These animals don't just have a tourism significance to us. They don't necessarily just have meat potential for us, but these animals also have got historical significance and traditional significance as well. Like some of these animals are used in our rituals. You know, some of their blood is used in our rituals and so forth. So it's culturally important as well to keep these animals. But what I would like to bring across from Mr. Riaan then after being attacked was that why they would want to conserve this animal, because after they were attacked, it was an unfortunate situation. But then our custodian ministry, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, has actually implemented ways in order to compensate these people, even if it's not enough or not the correct amount that you must get for losing an arm or losing a leg or losing your life even. But what happens is that there are certain schemes that have been implemented in order to compensate these people that have been attacked, and also for those ones that have been killed. So that's why they've seen that, no, the conservation model is actually working. So that they also know that something is for them actually. Like, these animals are ours, and these animals are ours to preserve, ours to conserve, and we have to, or we will derive benefits from them. And that is what we try to bring across from the conservation model, is to try and implement it in such a way that the community members benefit straight on the ground. The community members are the owners of these joint ventures that we are going into as a conservancy. Because ultimately, the community members are the owners of the conservancy. They make all the decisions at the annual general meeting. I should invite you to one of these heated meetings, but actually a very beautiful sight as well, to see that these people are engaging to a level where they want to improve their livelihoods. It's actually fascinating to see that the older generation people are teaching the younger generation people on how to mitigate some of these circumstances while we are actually at the AGM. So what I want to say there is, we want this, you know, and it's working.
You know, it's amazing to look at Namibia, and in many ways Namibia is a trailblazer when it comes to conservation in southern Africa. But to speak to someone like you in your position, brimming with enthusiasm, good news stories, seeing that all of these policies and practices, it works for the country, it works for the wildlife, it works for the community. And I suppose it takes a lot of hard work and maybe beyond hope. It's just sort of, you know, keep on going as you are, because you are more than on the right track. So it's really, it's so uplifting. So just want to wish you all the best for everything that comes in the future. And I'm sure, I'm convinced that I was to come back here in 5 years' time, all of your hopes and dreams and aspirations in your role, you're going to achieve them. I'm at the end of a very beautiful and very interesting day. This is Spitzkoppe. It's a really famous landmark or national monument in Namibia, and people visit this place. There's a high turnover. Most tourists that come to Namibia will visit this place. So yeah, you can understand how foreign money could flow into here and it's distributed through the community. But the other areas, the Gaingu Conservancy, you know, it's a place where there are wild animals. It is special, but it's also home to families and communities and individuals that pay the price of living alongside wildlife. And you know, one thing that I've learned is just an unbelievably tough existence. People literally just scraping by from 1 week or 1 month to the next, and you know, every single year encountering hard times, and those times are made all the harder when you think about human wildlife conflict, losing your livestock to wild animals, being attacked by a wild animal, possibly losing your life or your livelihood or your ability to work through an encounter with an animal that you have no choice but to share the landscape with. But I'm kind of ending this day really feeling really uplifted, because Namibia has been a sort of a trailblazer for a long time in conservation, and there's lots of policies and practices that is really not just sort of getting on the right track, it's really sort of striding forward that can set an example how you can find that peace and that coexistence, a world that, you know, where it can work for people and work for wildlife. So yeah, as horrific as some of the stories that I've heard today, as clear as it is that people are living incredibly difficult lives, yeah, not just seeing light at the end of the tunnel, I'm seeing the tunnel sort of, you know, being illuminated. There is a way forward, because it's happening right here and right now. If you'd like to hear the audio version of this episode, just search Beneath the Bay Above on your preferred podcast app or follow the links in the video. JAMA International are passionate about conservation and well-being for people and planet, and know it's crucial to open positive dialogues and share ideas. We'd love you to share this video. Please do so with the hashtag Beneath the Bay Above on social media, or maybe just start a conversation with a friend. Next time in Beneath the Bay Above, we'll investigate life after human-wildlife conflict events and the impact that has on the future loss of livelihood.